is happening. So you know what that means, folks. We are back with another edition of Money Moves. And hopefully you get this stuff. I know, right? It's like, whoa, episode 93. We're creeping up on 100. I can't believe we're going to have 100 episodes of the Money Move show. So good stuff in store. But anyway, do us a favor. Click that little subscribe button down below. Show us some love. Come on. We're coming up. Spring is, well, I guess we're not coming up on spring. It's in full swing. So baseball, warm weather happening. Everybody's feeling a little more chipper. Days are getting longer. I'm still hoping, fingers crossed, we're going to get rid of that whole daylight savings thing. So anyway, but are you ready for another edition of Money Moves, Wendy?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
All right. Well, we got some exciting stuff we're talking about, folks. We're actually talking about, are you focusing on the wrong things when it comes to building wealth? And we're going to talk about that and kind of that money mindset when we come back. So do me a favor, blackswanmoney.com. Text it to your friends. They're getting ready to get started right now. And we'll get started here in just a few seconds. So money mindset, focusing on the wrong things when building wealth. I mean, a lot of people are like, well, I'm focusing on saving money or this, that, or the other. There's a lot more to it. And it's a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess in your core, right? And these are things that you may not even be aware of that you're focusing on. And it's all about mindset, right? And a lot of us come from, at least me, I didn't come from money at all. And you start getting ingrained at a very early age that you're taught by your parents and things like that about, how do you look at things? How do you look at money? What set of lenses do you look at? Right. And what that does subconsciously is really holds you back. I don't know if you can relate to what I'm talking about, Wendy. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we had a big aha moment. I don't know, a collision with this last week. I realized my money mindset needed to be adjusted. You and I talked about a little bit, but when it came to something that came up with my son, which we can dig into in a minute, but yeah, it's to your point of like that childhood thing, like we grow up with these certain images and ideas about money and whether by our parents or whatever, right? I grew up with very frugal parents, right? Who don't like to spend one dime extra than is required, right? And then I had the fun aunt who spent money it was like she made it super fun. But then there were like people that talked about, oh, she just blows money and made it a negative that she had fun with her money.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's like all these things as a kid that mix up in your head and create these narratives, right? That you don't realize show up as you grow up.
Yep, exactly. Well, and that's the thing, and you don't realize it because
Hi, puppy.
I know, right? Sorry. But it's like one of those things that really looking at how you're trained at an early age, and you may not even realize it as an adult. You just think, well, that's how it is, right? Money, rich people are crooks. That's how they got rich, right? Or wow, I can't afford this or this, that, or the other, right? And it's one of those things that's the first thing we focus on. And not that you want to go out and just spend money, spend money like the U.S. government, right? That's the new thing in my mind now. It's like, yeah, just print more, no worries, right? That eventually comes up and catches up to you. But you've got to be very cognizant of how you look at money, right? Money is not the root of all evil. The love of money is. Read the whole verse, right? And it's really, you look at it as a tool. And fortunately, and this is one of the things I found, because my story, and I've shared it a little bit in the past, but just to kind of recap, we grew up single parent home, right? Or I grew up single parent home, and there wasn't a lot of money. Wasn't a lot of money going around. I mean, things were still expensive, and I spent the majority of the time with my father out in San Diego, which San Diego isn't cheap today, and it wasn't cheap back then. So it's one of those things, right? It's like, okay, well, you got to be very frugal, to use your word, or conservative, or whatever the case may be, and you start looking at that. I can't afford that. I can't afford that. And so I played the game. Got good grades, ended up getting a degree or going to a state university that, gave me a scholarship. And then, but what I realized is, even though I was, in banking and around that stuff all the time, and I knew how kind of what was going on. I still wasn't getting wealthy because I didn't know how the rules of the game were played, right? I didn't know the rules of the game, how money works. And then secondly, a lot of it was my mindset of, I can't do that. I can't do that.
Can't afford it.
Yeah, exactly. And fortunately, I started realizing something was going on. I wasn't getting wealthy in my 20s and 30s, right? It's like, okay, I'm saving money, but it's not really doing what I thought it would do. So started reading about, Robert Kiyosaki, and others about how all this works and how it comes up. And I was fortunate enough to go, I got into real estate, and I've shared that with you as well. I've done real estate investing for a number of years and actually went and worked for a hedge fund that bought real estate in bulk. I mean, my team was buying 120, 130 homes, single family homes every single month. I mean, like clockwork. And what I realized is there is so much opportunity and so much money out there if you have the right set of lenses you're looking at, right?
Right.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I mean, last week, my son he's all about sports, right? He loves his baseball, wants to be a Major League Baseball player. And, was looking at schools and he found this school. He's like, Mom, this is like a sports focused school. We need to go, I want to go there for high school. And I was like, look up the tuition. And he looks up the tuition and I was like, what? That would be a no. Right. And my initial reaction was, we can't afford that. Like, that's crazy. Who can? And then I was like, wait, that school sounds familiar. And I went and looked up. I was like, I know who has a kid there. And I look up my girlfriend and I'm like, yep, sure enough. Not only does she have one kid there, she has two.
Okay.
This woman has a ton of time freedom. And I know how much she makes. I was with her one time when she got paid, right? And I know what she does. I know how much she makes. I know how she works. And I'm like, man, what is my deal that my initial reaction was I could never afford that?
Yeah.
Instead of what you said, right? How can I afford that?
How can I afford that, right? And that's that training, folks, that we're talking about. And it's not training like you went to a training class to learn this stuff. It's just ingrained in you from your parents, your grandparents, your family at an early age. And don't get me wrong. I mean, Wendy's comment about, I can't afford it. Well, how can I afford that? It's not something where you're going to go out and rack it up on credit or whatever. Right. I said this in the last video or 2 videos ago, do not finance depreciating assets, right? But it's a matter of, okay, rather than focusing on, I can't do it because of, focus on, I want to do this. How can I make that happen? Right. And you look at rental properties, right? Or Airbnbs. I mean, I'm sure everybody would love to have an Airbnb or a rental property or 5, right? That's something that you should look at as part of your asset wealth. But looking at that and focusing on, okay, well, man, I can't afford a rental property or that'd be a pain in the butt. No. Focus on, okay, how can I have it? I mean, you look at it, a rental property, prime example, that's somebody else paying for that asset for you because you're renting it out. Don't get me wrong. There's other things, there's a little more to it than that, but that's the way you start looking at it and looking at, okay, other people are doing it. How did they do it? If other people are doing what you want to accomplish, ask yourself the question, rather, I can't do that. Ask yourself the question, how can I do that? What did they do to make that happen for them? And then obviously you're going to have to adjust. And that's not just in, going to the school for your son or whatever else. It's like, it's all of the above, right? How can we make this happen? And it was kind of that light bulb went off in my head. I'm like, man, we need to talk about this because that's that core down below. And you may think, okay, I want to do some things up here at this level, kind of fixing the symptoms or whatever, but you got to go down to the root of the problem, the root of the challenge, the opportunities there to make a life-changing, event happen in your own life. Right.
Yeah. And I think, we can teach tactical all day long, right? Strategy all day long. But if you don't have the core belief that you can achieve more, that you can make more, if you're, and you're not growing yourself in that way, like in your mindset and in your soul, right? Then it's going to be hard to ever accomplish those things, no matter how much strategy you have, because, and I brought this up to you, a couple of weeks ago that I looked back at my income over the last however many years, and I've operated in this certain range. And no matter how hard I hustled or how much I took my foot off the gas and kind of sat back, it didn't matter. I've still been making the same income range for years. And so that was a light bulb moment to me to go, something in here has to shift.
Yeah.
Something in here has to shift, right?
Yep.
It's not about the action. And so I posted something this week, like alignment over hustle. And I just feel like I am finally figuring out the space in which I need to grow my business. And I feel fully in alignment with that, instead of like, here's all the ways I could make money. Instead, focusing and leaning in on the way that I know I'm supposed to.
Well, exactly. And I thought that was great, for me to kind of hear that from you. I was like, okay, wow, that's awesome. What an awesome growth experience for you. And it's one of those things that, that's across the board, folks, whether it's building wealth or your career, think you can. And it goes back to, I think Henry Ford said this, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right.
You're right.
Whether you think hear that, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And that's something it's got to be that internal mindset and really focusing. I mean, what's different between you, not Wendy, but you, the viewer, from Tony Robbins or, the president of your company? Nothing other than mindset and really, maybe some educational pieces or something like that. But here's the beautiful thing about life, folks. It's never over until it's over. Okay. It's never too late to start a career change or focusing on building wealth. It's the old adage that the best time to plant a beautiful oak tree that you want in front of your house was 100 years ago, right? The second best time is right now. Mm-hmm. And that's one of those things, don't ever give up. Don't ever, quit on yourself or your family. But focusing on that, I'm going down a little bit of a rabbit hole here, but it goes back to those core beliefs you have inside of you that's holding you back. Why aren't you making $100,000 a year? Okay. And if you are making $100,000, why aren't you making 200,000 or 300,000? Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there something inside of you? Is your internal thermostat only set for so? Mm-hmm. Or is it set for, I'm only worth this amount, or, I don't believe that I'm worth more than that. And I used to struggle with that. When I was in my, my career, I remember when I first crossed six figures in my corporate career, I never in a million years thought I would be there. I remember because I was a poor kid growing up, man, if I could make 80, 90 grand a year, that's a lot of money and stuff like that. And then when I crossed six figures, it was like, oh, okay. And I crossed multiple six figures, relatively short period. Because once that proverbial glass ceiling was broken, and I'm not trying to take anything from the women's movement, but it's one of those things that it's only there if you let it be there. And just you look at even that comment there, you look at how many women do we have in our company, right? We talked about that earlier today. I mean, our team is 75% female, right? And so, all of that stuff is mindset stuff. And I'm not saying there's not obstacles. There are some bad people out there trying to hold X, Y, and Z back because of, A, B, and C. Move on, go somewhere else, because there's so many opportunities out there across the board for you to build wealth, for you to grow, for you to start a company, for you to own a home, or whatever the case may be. Find a way. Bad credit, fine. Find somebody to finance it for you, right? Want to build a house? Go find a piece of land. Want to build a business? Go find a mentor or two to show you, or something that has a turnkey, like a franchise, or what we do even, right? It's not a franchise, but it's something very similar to it. Yeah. So it's really those things of stop creating imaginary barriers in your life, right?
Yeah. And, when you said that just now, it reminded me of what we were talking about earlier with, like, I think we can operate from abundance or scarcity, right? Ooh, and a lot of us, our initial thing is like the scarcity. Okay, I need to save more, so I need to cut all my spending.
Yeah.
Right. And I go through this cycle, right? And it's like, what can I cut? What can I cut? What can I cut? What can I cut? And we heard this on something we were watching today or yesterday, is that you can only decrease your spending to zero.
Yeah.
Like, that's as low as you could ever
go.
There's
a limit. There's a limit on what you can do on reducing expenses. You're right.
Right. But there's no cap on how much money you can make.
None. And folks, you've heard us talk about this in the past. If you're trying to build wealth and make things happen, make your mark with only one income, it's not going to happen, right? The average millionaire,
one set income.
Yeah, one set income. Yeah, and that's the thing too. I was talking to a client last week. They got a promotion, or not a promotion, excuse me, a raise, and they got a 4% raise. And like, yeah, we got a 4% raise this year. I'm like, so net, you're actually losing money because inflation was 7.5%, on average. So you're making less money this year than you were the year before. And you're like, oh, I never really thought of it that way. So again, it's all how you're looking at money, your mindset, and things like that. And that's why you want to have multiple streams of income. And then eventually you want to go from active income to passive income. Again, mindset. What do I mean by that? Active income, you're trading your time or labor for a paycheck or, you know, a commission or something like that. If you stop doing that activity or stop giving your time to that cause or whatever, they stop paying you money. That's active. You got to actively do something. Passive income, going back to the rental property, you know, the business that we have lined up is all about passive income, meaning you're making the money whether you're actually devoting the time and effort right then, right? You know, whether, and we know a lot of people with courses out there that are automated and stuff like that. I mean, it's, you know, like car washes, laundromats, right? The guy or gal who owns the laundromat is not in there washing your clothes. He's providing space and tools and things like that. You're going in there, putting your dollar bills in and whatnot. You know, and those are great businesses. So looking for that money mindset, but again, you've got to get down to that core of what's holding me back. And I would challenge everybody out there watching this video to ask yourself that question and be brutally honest with yourself. What's holding you back from wealth? What's holding you back from happiness? What's holding you back from X, Y, or Z? And really get to the root of the problem. And then now you know the problem, start working on the solution. That's where you get mentors around you, and you know, don't go it alone. That's so silly, right? Find somebody to talk to, find a mentor to help you, whether it's in business, building wealth. We'd love to help you. If you don't have anybody, come and talk to Wendy and I. We'll show you what we're doing and what you can do too, right? Yeah. And those are the things that, you know, I just, it kind of, you brought that up about this, you know, hey, this light bulb moment, and we talked about it, and it was like, man, so many people, myself included, used to be like that. So food for thought, folks. Shorter video today, but again, don't let your bad money mindset hold you back from greatness, right? Or it doesn't have to be about money, but that's obviously what we're talking about with Money Moves, but just a lot of different things in life, right? I don't know, Wendy, if you've got anything else to add on that.
No, I just, be aware, right? I always talk about awareness is the first step, right? And then you have to adjust your mindset and take action. So
yeah, and it doesn't matter where you start, folks. And you know, my son's soon to be a college athlete, and you know, he's got a chance to go to a D1 school and play. And a lot of, you know, not a lot, but some of his friends are going to different schools too. Not all of them are D1. A lot of, you know, but I told him, I said, guys, it's not about where you start. It's where you end up, right? So financially, if you're not right there, if you're not where, man, I should be at a certain point, you know, by this age or whatever, or I'm not happy with it, it doesn't matter. This is your starting point, okay? It doesn't matter where you start. It's where you end up. The key is to keep moving it forward every day, right?
Absolutely.
So everybody have a great time. Hopefully you got some information. If you did get some good information out of this or felt good about this, please click that little button down there with a thumbs up. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a like. Just show some love. Better yet, give us a heart. Wow. And share this with your friends. We're trying to grow this channel. Again, it's all about helping people understand, you know, leveling the financial playing field for families all across the United States and Canada. So again, show some love. Money Moves every Tuesday, 10 o'clock Central. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.